Hey, welcome back. You're in the C Space Studio here at CES 2023. I am James Kotecki, joined by Mike Welch, EVP and General Manager of Xandr, which is a Microsoft company. Welcome to the C Space Studio.
James. Thanks for having me.
So Xandr actually is interesting. We actually had someone from Xandr here in the C Space Studio several years ago at CES. A lot has changed since that time. You're now a Microsoft company, for example. Right. So what does Xandr mean? What does the brand mean in 2023?
Well, let me take it to maybe the Microsoft level, because Xandr's now been integrated and we're part of a full suite solution within Microsoft. And you talk about a lot of change. Microsoft has grown its advertising business quite a bit internationally. It's expanded into a lot of different markets, has a global footprint now. Made 2 acquisitions in the last couple of years. Promote IQ, which is a retail media company, Xandr, which is an ad technology company. So there's a lot of brand work, you use the term brand, a lot of brand work underway right now, so stay tuned for that. But what I'll tell you is what our value proposition is and what we've sort of been sharing with customers here in Las Vegas. And that is, we give marketers the ability to reach 1 billion audiences that are derived from usage of Microsoft products. Those billion people, those billion audiences have a high purchasing power, they have a higher engagement with advertising they receive from a normal consumer, and they have a higher willingness to make a purchase online, so it's a really strong value prop for a marketer.
So tell us about those full suite of products, just to remind everybody what's under the full scope of the Microsoft umbrella.
Yeah, so absolutely. So it kind of starts, think of it this way, it starts with the Windows operating system. And Windows has these billion users that come and engage with search and with shopping and with the Edge browser. That spins off a lot of first-party data that then gets activated across 4 pillars of the Microsoft advertising business. The first pillar is Microsoft Search Network. So there, think Bing. The Microsoft Search Network also powers AOL and Yahoo Search. So a lot of search intent data there. That search intent data then gets used to extend to find audiences in what we call the Microsoft Audience Network, which is a brand safe compilation of owned and operated Microsoft properties. So there, think Outlook, think MSN. Yeah. So you take the search intent data, extend those audiences, find them in Microsoft owned and operated properties. That's sort of our second pillar. Our third pillar is retail media, which came to us from the acquisition of Promote IQ, which was a purpose-built retail media company. I have not had a single meeting in Vegas this week that retail media didn't come up. It's a hot topic. We're right in the middle of that conversation.
Several times here in the C Space Studio as well.
Absolutely. And then the fourth pillar is Xandr. And so if you think about these billion audiences, we now can extend those audiences and find them across the open web through Xandr's buy-side and sell-side technology. So it's a really solid sort of 4-pillar solution that spans multiple formats as well. So there's no format we don't serve. We've got search, we've got retail media, we've got display, native, online, video inclusive of CTV. So it's come together very nicely over the last couple of years for Microsoft advertising.
There's obviously places, especially where probably most of the places where Xandr's playing, people may expect advertising to be. There's theoretically, I suppose, possibilities to put advertising in Microsoft products in places where people don't expect it. So do you have to make sure that you're always kind of walking that line of making sure that you're putting it in contextually appropriate places?
Yeah, I mean, look, Microsoft has made a big commitment to advertising, made some acquisitions, and so has made a big commitment to get into this space. But the consumer experience is ultimately what matters at Microsoft, and data governance as well. So you're right, we have to be very careful with where those ad experiences come, and we're very careful about that.
So what are you looking at here for 2023? What are the opportunities that you see ahead for the Xandr side and the Microsoft advertising side overall?
Yeah, so I would say really 3 priorities. One is to get to just nail this Netflix opportunity. So as you know, we were named Netflix exclusive partner for ad technology and sales, and have launched a product with them called Basic with Ads as of November the 1st, an ad-supported Netflix product. We're out of the gate really strong. The product has been flawless from launch, and now it's just about scaling that over the course of this year. So that's priority.
So when people go on Netflix, they get the ad tier. They may not know it, but they're interacting, or they're seeing ads that are supported by Microsoft technology.
That's right. Yeah. Microsoft's doing the ad serving. We do all the ad sales. Absolutely. Second priority really is to find the next Netflix. So we've built this capability now to provide these large content players with a technology solution on both the buy side and sell side, as well as ad serving. Now we just need to go find others. We can scale that globally, and that's a big opportunity for us. And then third, I mentioned, is really taking those billion audiences that I've mentioned before and extending them into Xandr's supply across the globe. Those 3 things are priorities, 1, 2, and 3 for us this year.
Were people surprised that Netflix went with Microsoft?
They were, and I can tell you, it was funny, we were in Cannes in June, and we were in the throes of the negotiation, and there was some breaking news that came, you know, the press was speculating on the two winners that were going to sort of battle it out to see. And we were never named in any of that. And we're kind of all looking at each other like, well, I think we're still in it because we're doing exchanges of the contract, we're doing red lines back and forth, and lo and behold, a few weeks later we found that we had won that business. So it was really exciting for us.
So what was it that enabled you to win that? Because, I mean, you talk about finding the next Netflix. In some ways, there is no next Netflix, right? Netflix is like an entity unto itself. It's a massive brand, it's a massive opportunity. So congratulations on that. But also, how did you pull it off?
Yeah, it really came down to, I think, three things, two in particular. One is we have a global ad tech footprint on both the buy side and the sell side of advertising. So we power a global DSP, we power a global SSP with an ad serving capability. Second is we have a global footprint for our sales force. So we're in all the markets that matter across the world, and that was something that I think set us apart from our competition. And thirdly, and probably to less of an extent, we don't have a competing product with Netflix. And so it wasn't as though we had our own video product that was going to compete with them, and so we were seen as agnostic there.
And how have you thought about that consumer experience, maybe partnering with Netflix to think about how did you think through what an ad-supported tier would look like on a platform that historically hasn't had them?
We wanted it to be very non-intrusive. We wanted to have a very light ad load. And we wanted to kind of get out of the gate with formats that were familiar to people, so 15 and 30-second advertising. I think over time you'll see different types of formats emerge that are even maybe less intrusive. But the biggest thing was light ad load and really tight frequency caps so that you're not bombarded with the same ad over and over and over again like you are with many other platforms.
So you said that launched at the beginning of November, so it's been a couple of months now, maybe not long enough to know the answer to this question, but will it eventually influence the creative side in terms of what kind of Netflix shows are created and how they're created? Now that there's advertising, are there interesting ways to integrate some of the things that are happening in the shows with the ads around them?
I think that, yes, but I think that's another area where Netflix is going to want to tread lightly. That's 100% their decision, frankly. We're not going to have a whole lot of influence there, but I do think there are opportunities to have branded content within the shows, and it's interesting because Netflix shows really have spurred, Queen's Gambit launched a massive re-interest in chess, for instance. Formula One has found renewed interest from that show. So they really do influence culture, and so there's certainly an opportunity there, and that's something that we're going to take the journey with them on.
You talked about the idea of trying to find the next Netflix. Does that mean another streaming service, or does that just mean another massive opportunity, and what kind of ways could that
It's
look?
really an opportunity for any company that wants to have an ad-supported model that doesn't feel like they want to make the investment either through building their own capability or acquiring capabilities. You need ad technology, you need buy-side tech, you need sell-side tech, and you need a sales force. If you don't want to make the investment on your own, we're a great option for you.
You previously worked at AT&T. What have you learned about how legacy brands can innovate? And I guess now, in a sense, Microsoft is a legacy brand. It's still a technology brand, not as old as AT&T, obviously. But how are you what have you learned about how to stay innovative at a time when new entrants come into the market all the time and try to eat your lunch?
Well, I'm at the risk of maybe sounding pandering here, I'm going to use Netflix as an example. They have really stayed out ahead of trends. So if you think about it, they were one of the first direct-to-consumer brands out there with the DVD, exactly, mail to home DVD. And then as that business was sort of at its peak, arguably, they made the decision to sort of pivot to a streaming model. And they were sort of, they were chastised for it in many cases. It impacted their stock price initially. But that turned into an amazing decision. They invented streaming for the most part. And then they also went and invented the concept of binging, releasing full episodes, full seasons of shows, all at once. And now they sort of have a real chance to influence the ad-supported streaming model. So I would say what I've learned, whether that be at AT&T or at Microsoft, my short time there, certainly Netflix, you have to disrupt yourself. AT&T did a good job of doing that. We disrupted ourselves all the time, from legacy landlines moving into mobile, for instance. You have to do that. You can't stand still.
Does it ever get easier to disrupt yourself? I imagine it can feel very painful in the moment.
It's gut-wrenching, but you
Is it a callus you build up, like I'm just going to know that I'm going to keep disrupting myself?
Yeah, and it's an old leader, an old boss once told me that he wanted to have leaders in the organization that had scar tissue, because if you have scar tissue, you've been through the fires, you've been through it, and you're not scared to make disruptive types of changes. And so yeah, it's just one of those things you have to have the intestinal fortitude to do it, and make it fact-based, and then go with your gut, and you know, these companies that I've worked for have made good decisions, good disruptive decisions.
Well, thank you so much for sharing some disruptive insight with us, Mike Welch of Microsoft. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for watching. You're here with me in the C Space Studio at CES 2023. We are live and we are still going. More great conversations are on the way. Stay with me.